Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really mythic journey of transformation. It's this incredible story about shattering a gilded cage, to unleash a power that's just been lying dormant for ages.
And really, our whole explainer today hinges on this one single powerful question. Think about it, a spirit trapped, totally stuck in a stagnant reality. And then what happens when that internal pressure just becomes too much to handle, when that silence finally starts to scream?
Okay, so first up, the liturgy of error, this idea of a gilded cage. Let's dive into the world our protagonist is stuck in. It's this place they call the Old Heavens. But, spoiler alert, it's not exactly paradise.
Right, so in this world, the spirit isn't some free-floating thing. It's more like a thin crust of obedience. I love this image. It's like a cooling layer of lava, but underneath there's this boiling reservoir of ancient, raw instincts. And the whole system, this liturgy of error, is basically just a giant, fancy celestial tomb designed to keep all that power locked down and suppressed. And this right here, this lays out the core conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the horizontal comfort, the sleepy safety of the masses. It's all about what's called Apollonian stasis, rigid order, total control. But on the other side, well, that's the vertical climb. It's a terrifying, dangerous ascent toward what they call becoming, a state of true infinite potential. It's safety versus growth, really.
So this is where we meet our guy, the Pale Rider. But here's the thing. He's not really a who at this point. He's more of a what. He's just an instrument of this whole system, a passive servant of the grave, totally shackled to the one, single, authorized version of the truth.
Next up, the uncanny awakening. Because, let's be real, you can't keep that kind of primal energy bottled up forever. Something's gotta give. And right under the surface of all that suffocating obedience, something ancient is starting to wake up.
And this leads us to a really key idea here, atavism. Basically, it's when these ancient ancestral traits come roaring back. For the writer, it's like this deep, primal energy from 1,000 ancestors is pulsing inside him. He has this profound, archaic need for something real, something unconditional, not the empty, hollow gestures of the world he knows. So he finds himself at this cosmic crossroads, and this is the real turning point. He becomes, in a way, a believer without a god to worship. That crushing silence of his old life, it doesn't just break. No, it transforms into this powerful, screaming call for a whole new purpose, for a radical change. And that inner scream, it actually starts to manifest as an external signal. This uncanny frequency begins to vibrate through his world, and it just shatters the stagnant order of things. This is it. This is the sign that the primitive, the truly authentic self is about to make a comeback.
Okay, section 3, judgment and transformation. So, of course, an awakening this big doesn't go unnoticed. A powerful new entity arrives on the scene, but not to punish the writer. Oh no, this being is here to kickstart his transformation. And this entity, the Crimson Judge, is described as an active nihilist given flesh. Now that sounds intense, but it's not about despair or giving up. It's all about action. The judge's whole purpose is to violently tear down the old, authorized truth, to clear the way, to make space for something completely new to be built from the rubble.
So the judge puts the writer through this, well, it's a violent 3-stage metamorphosis. First, he's literally pulled from the pits of the passive. Then he's purged, bathed in this mysterious sonic screech from a being called the Sapphire Demiurge. It's like an auditory cleansing that just washes away his old, unchosen destiny. And finally, he's weighed. But not by some old, dead morality. No, he's judged by the sheer density of his will to power. This whole thing isn't a trial, you see. It's a forging.
And after all that, the writer emerges completely reborn. He's not a servant of some external truth anymore. He is the living heir, a sovereign being who now has the power to define his own reality, to literally correct his own history. He's in charge now.
All right, on to the next section, the ordeal. So he's transformed, but it's not over yet. Now this new atavistic soul has to face its greatest test yet, and it's in this totally disorienting and dangerous new reality. He steps into what's called the liquid mirror, and this is a place where the self just dissolves into a million infinite reflections.
And here's the trippy part. In this realm, the reflection, the potential, is actually more real and more powerful than the original source. Every single reflection is more beautiful, but also more lethal than the last.
I mean, that presents a terrifying challenge, right? How in the world do you navigate a reality that is constantly out-evolving you? How do you find your footing when the image is stronger than the real thing, in a world that's always, always one step ahead?
And this is where the writer learns the real logic of the mirror. It's not about reflecting some static, fixed image. No, it's a forge. All those contradictions, all those fragments, what the source calls sapphire shards, they're the raw materials you use to create new meaning, right out of the wreckage. The mirror, it turns out, is a window into the absolute freedom of the abyss.
So, moving on to the Rune of Ascent, because by mastering this mirror, by figuring out how to create meaning from pure chaos, the writer emerges totally resurrected and branded with a powerful new identity. He's now marked by this symbol, the Rune of the Vertical Ascent, which is described as a jagged spike of sapphire fire. And this mark, it signifies a total, complete rejection of that old, easy, horizontal comfort. It literally shifts his spiritual gravity, constantly pulling him upward. And that goes hand in hand with something called the Rune of Non-Correspondence. What this means is that he's now in a state where he is completely and utterly free from his past. No part of him is shackled to his old name or his old history. He's living in what's called a divine frenzy, where every single breath he takes is like a duel with the infinite itself.
So he's no longer just climbing the vertical path anymore. Now he's its guardian. He has become a sentinel of the y-axis, and his very existence exerts this constant metaphysical pressure on the world around him. He's a force for constant change, for self-overcoming, a pressure on everything to ascend.
So that brings us to our final section, the prophecy of will. After this absolutely incredible journey, what is the ultimate identity of this vertical rider? I mean, what does he actually become? Well, he's now defined by this state of perpetual becoming. His will is the only true law. And this is where it gets really mind-bending. History is no longer a record of what happened to him. For him, it's now a prophecy that he writes. It's a weapon he can wield to command whatever comes next. And in the end, his journey isn't just some story. It's an invitation. It's a challenge, really, to all of us to shatter our own comfortable frames and choose our own gravity. The source material leaves us with this final, really provocative thought that the path of constant becoming, this abyss, is absolutely terrifying, but it might be the only true path for the strong. So the question it leaves us with is, will you step through the frame?